Hi, I'm RC Jim. A little while back I fixed up this plane after having had it crash, and a thing that really has bugged me with this plane is it doesn't have a rudder, and it's just so hard to keep it going straight taking off. And I think the last crash was just trying to get it off the ground, and basically I set it on the runway. I found it impossible with just this steering nose wheel about here and the main gear being about there. It's such a narrow sort of track that it's got that it's just really sensitive, and then of course, you know, it basically goes where it wants to go. So I really want a rudder on it so that I can control it better taking off. So I'm planning on putting a servo right there, and we'll hook it up with the rest, and we'll cut a rudder into there, put some hinges on it, and I think that's going to do the job. So I got a little servo here that I've had sitting around. It's been in a crash before, busted a leg off of it, but I think it's going to do the job for what we've got here. I've marked out a hole for it, and I think I've got it pretty well cut through. There'll probably be some little bits to get finished off with. If you see some batteries around, that's because I'm also in the middle of doing some testing on batteries, but I'm hoping to fly tomorrow, and so I was doing some work getting ready for that, and this guy came to mind. So I thought, why don't we get it going? There's our little plug out of there. See the ESC down there? It looks like we stayed away from it. Yeah, none of this got down to those wires, so taking a bit of a chance of that, but that was all right. Now the question is, what is the best way to get this in there? I would like it to have it embedded from down there. I don't think I'm going to be able to reach in there with anything. Okay, so I think we're going to have to work it in from up here. Okay, there's our lead. Okay, so it would fit in there quite easily. So I could cut off the lugs, or I can try to work them underneath by making the hole longer. I could do that. I think we're just going to cut them off. This is not your $1,000 aircraft, so some things might seem a little bit dodgy, but yeah, there's one of them cut off. I'll do it this way to keep from cutting into wires. This plastic is really dodgy on this particular servo anyway. Okay. So we'll embed it in there like that. Now the next thing we want to do is to cut the rudder out. So what I've done is I've moved this table out from the other table a bit. Got the jet setting between the two. It's got the nose gear that's sort of kind of supporting that, plus some of the plastic that's under the nose gear is up against that table. There's a fin back here that's helping to support that. And then it wasn't all the way down onto here, so I've positioned a block of wood under there to support that as I cut it. We will leave the top bit and just cut the part that would normally be the rudder. I'll go for the larger option in terms of these lines here. And I'm going to cut straight on this, and then later we will put a bevel on the edge of it. Far better cutting like this, where you can keep the knife nice and straight going down. It'd be a real pain trying to do this with the plane sitting right side up. Okay. By the way, I do have a little spacer underneath here to get that angle right. And we will also have to skinny it up top to bottom to give it clearance going back and forth. Okay, that's the bit there. Okay, so now we got a rudder. So we want to do a bevel on this and then skinny it up a little bit top to bottom. Okay. We've trimmed a little bit extra off of the edges, and now we're doing the bevel on the edges. I'll give it a tiny bit more. More on this side. Okay, I think that's going to do the job. We'll now get the hinges. The hinges are going to go perpendicular to the line. It won't be in line with the axis of the plane. The hinge is going to go back and forth this way. So we're going to get the rudder in the middle. Then I'm going to take a marker, and we'll just use 2 pins. I'm going to use these pin type hinges, just checking on the length of them to make sure we're okay. Okay, that's enough of a mark to be able to work out where they go. We'll use a barbecue skewer to make the holes. I'm going to get it right in the middle, which is quite important. And down the line and perpendicular. That one in that far, which is just about enough. Okay. Oh yeah, wasn't counting on this. Okay, we're going to move this one to where I can go straight and do it. Perpendicular in the middle and straight. Okay. So this one is now right there. Now we will remark this side. This side, again, we'll use a barbecue skewer, do a trial fit. Actually, we're going to want to cut out just a little bit out of here to give clearance for the actual hinge bit. Okay, turn the hinges a little bit to the side and make sure they're perpendicular that way. And then we can put them into the other holes. Okay, this one needs to get in there farther. I will put this in there first to get it in the full distance that we want it to go. That hole was a little bit short. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. That's going to do the job nicely. So now we'll just put some glue on those, and then we'll put a control horn on it. Just going to reduce the thickness of this a little bit out towards the end. Yeah, that'll be good. I'm going to use a clear Gorilla Glue for this. It doesn't expand, and you know, this isn't a one that's super under a super amount of stress. This isn't the strongest stuff in the world, but it sticks well. Okay, so as we do this, I get the pins out. I will start out by getting some glue into all of the holes, and then we'll put a little bit of glue onto the hinge pin itself. Okay, before putting the glue onto the hinges, I'm going to put a drop of oil onto the pin itself. Don't want it dripping around, so I get rid of any excess. Then I'll get a little bit of glue onto the pin itself. And we don't want a lot of excess here because this will tend to push out of the hole. Get that where I want it. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now we repeat for the next one. Put them in position where I want them. Now I'm going to put glue on the bit that's going to go into the rudder itself. And we get the rudder up here, which we've already got some glue in there. Just try to get rid of excess around the outside of the hole. Okay, come up from underneath. Okay, and there we have it. Now, what I'd normally like to do, well, we'll clear off a bit of the excess. A tiny bit of excess glue there. We're depending on the oil inside the hinge to keep it from sticking. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of tape, and maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just leave it like that. That's going to be okay. Sometimes I put tape on it to hold it up in place, but I've repainted this plane, and I am concerned about ripping off the paint, and it does seem to be staying put pretty well. So we'll let that dry and see how I go. In the meantime, I can go back to battery testing. Okay, while we're waiting for the glue to dry in the hinges, we'll do some work on the servo up here. First thing we want to do is make sure we've got in the middle position. So we've got our servo tester here. We've plugged in the power, hold in the middle button. It gets us to the test mode. It's now 2,000 microseconds. That's a variable. And now the 1,500, just by pressing the mode button. It cycles between those different things. 1,500 is the middle. So we plug it in there. Always have the little metal bits that you can see towards you when you're plugging them in here, because negative is that way on this side and it's that way on that side. Okay. Now let's just make sure it's working. Oh yes, the servo works. And get it to the 1,500 position, so that's the middle. I wanted to wait on gluing it in until we really knew that everything was going to work. So it'd be a little bit dicey getting it hooked up, but I think we can do that. So get that where it's pretty well in the middle. Hopefully this will pull it down onto there. Yeah, it looks like it will. We can always tighten it up later, but the main thing right now is it's in position. And that also gives us something to hold on to. Okay, and then we'll be running a wire back here to work the control arm, which we will have to wait on until we can do that. Just looking at our line of sight here from there to back here, that's going to clear. Okay, given that clearances are all looking good, I've decided to go ahead and glue it. So I put some glue around the edges, pushed it down in there a bit, and I'm going to run a little bit of foam down the front of it there to fill in that gap. So I just got this foam that came with packing from an aircraft. I'm going to get it about the width that I want. Turn off a little bit. I think that's going to go in there pretty well. Doesn't have to go all the way down in there, but we'll put it in a ways. It's got plenty to hold it. So providing pressure to hold it back in the hole, and then we'll just cut it off even. Okay. I'll uphold that there nicely. A little bit of excess glue. That's why I use a clear glue. Sometimes for something like this, you'd spray it with water first for Gorilla Glue. Given it's pouring down rain and nearly 100% humidity around here, I think it's going to cure okay. Okay, that looks fine. For the rudder, I'm just going to use this little guy here. The little poke through clamp on it by itself sort of a thing. Clean off the burr. That looks good. This is basically going to point at the servo. Just cut a slot in there, aiming at the servo. Trial fit, we want the holes to be roughly even with the hinge. Going to go a little bit up and down. We'll put a ball end on this end. Not that it makes a great big deal of difference. We'll put a little bit of glue on there just to act as a bit of insurance. Okay. It's going to work out fine. Clip on the back. Looks like the thickness is just right. Actually, let's put a tiny bit of glue on that as well, huh? Okay, now I need a control rod and a ball link. Okay, I got looking around for what to use for a control rod, and I'm actually going to use this piece of brazing wire. It's aluminum for those of you from other parts of the world. That will clamp into that end. This end is just a sort of a snug fit into my M2 ball link, and so I'm going to epoxy that onto there. It already holds reasonably well even without anything. But I'll just take some sandpaper, rough that up a little bit, put some epoxy on there, and glue that on. Here we are. We've got our control rod hooked up, ball link up at this end. Got it hooked onto our servo. We plugged the servo into channel 6. I've added a mix in channel 6. Oh, channel 5. Okay, sorry, got it plugged into channel 5 on there. And then channel 5, I've got a rudder mix. That's taking the input from the rudder inputs. So what comes out of the rudder inputs, adjusted for all of the flight modes, goes into rudder. So the other channel is used for the nose wheel. This one is used for the actual rudder. So that runs through, and I had to reverse it to get it to work right, but turn right, it goes right, turn left, it goes left. Okay, so that gives us what we want. I was having a look at the elevator here, and I was thinking this looked a little bit high. Well, I've turned the rudder back 1/2 of a turn, and boy, they're looking really good now. There's that other one, kind of hard to see the opposite one with the stuff in the background, but nonetheless, that is really close. So that's looking good. So we'll tuck away our wires, put the canopy on, and this is ready for the next test flight. She's now all buttoned up and ready to rip and roar. Yeah, we got a working rudder now. That's fantastic. Might mention that with regard to adding this rudder, I did have to make another change, and that was for the stability control. At least with Lemon RX, and I imagine this is true with other stability controls as well, it applies the correction directly to the channel that you specify. So when I had rudder hooked up to the nose wheel and then did a mix to add the rudder for the rudder, the stability was being applied to the nose wheel, not to the rudder. So I had to swap those channels around to where channel 4 is actually the rudder and channel 5 is now the nose wheel with a mix coming from the rudder. So with that, the stability is all working great. She's looking good. I've got all the controls all set at factory specs. We got some nice contrasting stripes to help us track this fast little guy as it soars through the sky, or screams through the sky, I guess you might say. And yeah, we're looking forward to flying it again. Well, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe. As you've seen some of the other stuff around here that I'm working on, you can tell I got several other videos about to happen. So as a subscriber, all of that's handy, doesn't cost you anything. And then while you're at it, have a look at some of the other videos on our channel. You have a great day and enjoy your flying.